Hello, my name is Alexis Streckingos, and today I will be talking about Section 9.5 in the American Dream section of the Blair Reader, entitled Outlaw: My Life in America as an Undocumented Immigrant by Jose Antonio, which is a true story. Jose is an undocumented immigrant who talks about his struggles and how it has affected him being an undocumented immigrant. At just 12 years old, the young Jose was abruptly awoken from his bed in the Philippines by his mother. Jose would soon never see his mother again in the promise of living the American dream. It was August of 1983, and Jose's mother was about to put him on a plane at the Philippines International Airport. Jose boarded the plane with a strange man who he had never met before and had no clue what was about to happen. He would later find out that the man helping to transport him was a coyote. Jose would soon arrive in San Francisco, California, in the United States of America, for the first time. From there, he would go to live with his grandparents and attend public school to obtain a good education, just like his mother had planned for him. When Jose was sent to live with his grandparents in America, he had no clue what his grandfather would do for him to make sure he had a better life, but when he turned 16, he would find out. Basically, Jose was sent to live with his grandparents permanently in America. When Jose was 16 years old, he attempted to get his driver's license, but was told he couldn't because his green card was apparently fake. This shocked Jose. When Jose pedaled as fast as he could home to ask his grandfather if his green card was fake, he could see the shame in his face. His grandfather was a proud man, but in that moment he let down his pride and explained how he had purchased his green card and other documents to get Jose into the United States. From then on, Jose began to put the pieces together. His mother was unable to obtain any sort of visa after years of trying, and because of his father being disabled, they weren't making a lot of money. This is what made her send her son to America. Jose also discovered that the man he was sent with was a coyote, whose grandfather paid nearly $4,500 for. He also bought him a fake passport, which he then obtained a social security card with, and then he reprinted it so that way he could cross out the INS authorization for work. And then he would use the photocopied version. After hearing this scared Jose to the point where he vowed to himself that he would never give anyone a reason to question if he was actually a citizen of the United States. From here on, Jose felt like he needed to work hard for everything to prove himself that he belonged in America. But through all of the stress, Jose never let it get to him. He continued to strive for greatness in high school, becoming a representative at school board meetings, being part of station and debate, being a co-editor of his school paper, and being a part of choir. Being a co-editor of his school paper made him later realize that he wanted to be a journalist and write. He never let his status get to him in high school until one time when it almost did. During Jose's junior year of high school, his choir instructor suggested a trip to Japan, but this would be impossible for him because he didn't have the right passport or document. This made Jose's mind race. What if he went and couldn't return? Jose worked up the courage to tell his teacher, but this didn't make him any less scared for his future. Luckily, his choir instructor understood, and instead of going to Japan, they went to Hawaii. Jose continued to feel scared to talk about his legal status, even though his choir teacher was so understanding. What really encompasses Jose's struggle with hiding himself is that he felt more comfortable coming out as gay rather than telling people he was an undocumented immigrant, which I definitely found that interesting considering the time period. His struggle with immigration status and whether or not to tell people continued to bother him through at the end of his high school career, almost to the extent that he didn't want to risk going to college to being a journalist. But finally, he told his principal and superintendent about his status and how this might affect his ability to go to college and become a journalist. From there, they attempted to find a way for him to go to college. They even considered adopting him. Finally, after attempting many things and trying to make sense of it all, they found a way for him to go to college. There was a new scholarship fund that was made for students who were the first in their family to go to college, and luckily it didn't concern immigration status. In college, once Jose finally got accepted into a college, he had one ambition, and it was to become a reporter. and journalist. This is why throughout college he worked for the San Francisco Chronicle as a mail sorter and freelance writer. This was only the beginning of his journey. Throughout college, he embarked upon many internships, including one for the Philadelphia Daily News, which worked out, but his attempt to intern at the Seattle Times did not work out due to his legal status once they found out. For years, this made Jose live in fear until he was offered a job with the Washington Post. And although he was scared, he realized he needed to venture out more, but this came at a cost. You see, years prior at the California DMV, he was denied a license, but now for his new job, he needed one. This posed a huge obstacle for Jose. This wasn't going to let Jose be stopped from obtaining his license. He discovered that Oregon was the most lenient and accepting with licenses. So he made the trip and had a friend's father say he was living with them. This came with a lot of work. He had to have mail forwarded there, and he also had to learn to drive. His superintendent from high school, who he was still in contact with, taught him how to drive. Through his support system, Jose was able to obtain his license. And in many other times, Jose used this same support system to help him get by with his immigration status. After getting his license and accepting the job at Washington Post, although he was intimidated, he drove straight in. From there, he became good friends with a veteran magazine article writer who would later become part of management at the paper, who would be a part of the tight-knit circle of supporters. Even though he was doing good at his new job, Jose remained paranoid about his legal status, feeling like he was tattooed with the words "illegal immigrant" on his forehead. In fear of annoying his coworkers by trying to prove himself and his almost paralyzing anxiety, he decided to tell Peter, the article writer, about his problem. He couldn't hold it in anymore, and for nearly 20 minutes he poured his heart out about his status. Luckily, Peter fully understood and told him that he just needed to prove himself. And so he did. In the following 5 years, he would be promoted to staff writer, write series, and cover the 2008 presidential race. After covering the presidential race in 2008, Jose landed himself an opportunity to visit the White House. That was when he gave his fake Social Security card to a Secret Service worker during a state dinner. During this time, he was trying his best to stand out, but not stand out too much because of the fear of being discovered. As the years continued, he continued to grow more and more anxious about his legal status. This was beginning to take more and more of a toll on him, as expected. Especially in 2008, when he was up for a Pulitzer Prize for a paper he wrote on a post team on the Virginia Tech school shooting. In fear of being discovered or even sent back to his home country, he moved before he could have the talk with the upper management, like Peter had said. He moved to New York to work at the Huffington Post, but mainly to try and escape his reality. At his new job, Jose continued to overachieve. His one series was turned into a documentary. He was writing magazines and even had the opportunity to profile Mark Zuckerberg for the New Yorker. This appointment only lasted about a year, though. During this time, he grew more and more depressed and anxious about his status, which sent him into a spiral, and he realized he was tired of hiding. This caused him to realize that no amount of professional life and skills could ease the sense of fear he held being an undocumented immigrant. And even though he had a support system to help him, it just wasn't enough anymore. He was tired of living in fear. He became exhausted from lying about why he couldn't take vacations, tired of the fear of long-term relationships, and his status. He grew tired of the question his grandma posed to him so many years before: what will happen if people find out? Finally, Jose came forward not only to the public but also to prior bosses, apologizing for action. From there, he has been working with legal counselors to review his options. There are over 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Many of them have built their lives here, just like Jose, and live in constant fear, all because they dream of living the American dream. It takes a lot of courage for someone like Jose to come out and admit to his lies, but he had the courage to, which is rather admirable. The question Jose and so many immigrants are faced with is what now? What will life look like in not only a few years, but tomorrow? What now is a question that rings in Jose's ears as he publishes this article. What now? Was Jose really doing the wrong thing if he was paying state and federal taxes while also being an active citizen? What was next for Jose and his tight-knit circle of a support system?